Good morning and welcome to our 2021 International Men's Day celebration. Great to have you with us. I'm just checking my comments straight away there. People start texting me saying you're alive. I know I'm live. Right. Let me know who you are, where you are, what you're doing, what platform you're on. Give yourself a shout out for the business as well. If you're watching across LinkedIn, for instance, let me know at the end of your message your name, because sometimes it doesn't pull through. If you're watching on Facebook, great. I think we're across YouTube and Twitter as well. So we've got three awesome young men for you this morning, and we're going to talk about the theme of International Men's Day this year, which is better relations between men and women, and I want to kind of delve into that. And the three men we've selected today will certainly offer a lot of great wisdom around that area. So as I say, if you drop me a comment, I can flash it on the screen for you, give yourself a shout out, let me know if you can hear me okay. Had a few technical problems as per usual, because we normally set this up with like 30 seconds to go. Seat of our pants style. Right, who should we bring in first? And let me throw in by order of the below. Good morning, Carl.
Hello, you all right?
Yeah, I am now. Yeah, it's a little bit of hustle trying to get the microphones working. Carl, Director of Design Express, Newton Aycliffe, Carl.
Newton Aycliffe?
Whereabouts are you, Newton Aycliffe?
Concert, County Durham.
Concert, County Durham. Why did I say Newton Aycliffe? What was in my mind?
No idea.
I don't know why you're over County Durham. There's a black and white strip behind you. I still haven't got that through my head, to be honest. It really should be red and white considering where you live, but...
Well, I was going to change it for you, but I thought, no, I'll leave it.
Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll bring in another black and white fan here. There is our Grant Murray. Grant?
Good morning. How are we?
Currency, financial market expert, specialist, amazing man.
Oh, thank you. What an introduction that is. Shall we talk now, or should we get your other guest in as well?
You can cool your jets, right? Because we've got our Dave here, Dave MD. Morning, Dave MD of the Health Insurance Group. Dave, whereabouts are you?
I'm based in Sutton Coldfield, just north of Birmingham. Sun's out, which is great. We got our colours behind you, so we've not done one of these hazy sort of backgrounds. I thought we'd show off our theme. So yeah, we were good, thanks.
Is that the right Pantone colour for the Health Insurance Group?
It is, yes. You know, we've got very strict brand guidelines, as you well know, Ian. So
I do indeed. You're the odd one out there because you said you're like near Birmingham, where we would never have guessed, would we, lads?
It's hard to believe, isn't it? Yeah, I try to keep a neutral accent, but it's obviously failing.
There's our Karen, Carl, just giving you a little bit of love there. Right then, so gents, International Men's Day today, and I thought I'd bring you guys on because you do inspire me. Okay, I love what you do, your values, everything about what you do. I feel super aligned to you. I love working with you all and friendships. And I thought, you know, who better to have on than you guys, because I know you've got some great relationships with women, because that's what the thing. All right, Dave, come on. Well, Dave, let me touch upon you. You've got your Ellie works with you, stepdaughter Ellie.
I have, yeah. For the last 4 years now.
Yeah, and let's dive straight in then. How do you find working with Ellie?
It's been fantastic. I mean, it was never a plan to do that. Started about 4 years ago, chucked her immediately at the deep end. But I mean, she took it like a duck to water. You know, has gone out of her way to absorb as much information. Got qualified in all the various areas of our business, which was, I say, no mean feat, and a lot of time, a lot of study, a lot of commitment had to go into that. And essentially means I can pretty much sit back and do nothing now because the business runs itself. So yeah, she holds the fort, and has a great team that she works with. So yeah, I mean, and she's followed in her mother's footsteps really. So looking at some of the questions that you've touched on earlier that you sent over, you know, as people that inspire, you know, I've sort of got fortunately surrounded by a number of women that do inspire me. You know,
it's interesting because I know last time I met Ellie, we went for a meal and producer Misha was sat next to Ellie, and it was wonderful, Dave, to watch those two young women just talk about business and the careers and life, and kind of there's this old dude sitting back and kind of watching that and just feeling proud, right? Because
very much so.
She's daughter too, by the way, producer Misha, and it's great to watch them grow, isn't it? It's absolutely fantastic.
Absolutely, yeah, really good.
Carl, I'm gonna sort of touch upon the same concept with you, because your MD, friend of the show, Jules, she's the gaffer, 25 years. How do you find a relationship with Jules?
Well, Jules, she's so easygoing, but she's just so open, honest, and just a nice person. I mean, she's had this business now 26 years, which is amazing for a woman to be in this industry, which is normally run by men. But like I say, Jules, she's open, honest, and she'll wears her heart on her sleeve, but just loves what she does.
Well, actually, a bit like yourself, Carl, because I love that directness about you. And when I say directness, I'm not talking about rude. You're not rude at all. You've got, you're a gent. But I think it is, I do love the way you just speak. There's no kind of waffle. There's no business BS around it. You just want to do a good job, kick on, do what's well for the customer, treat your employees right, have good relationships, and I love those values that you hold.
But they're important, though, aren't they? Because without those, you don't have a client base, which, like I say, we'll pride ourselves on our customer service here. And like I say, without those, you don't have a customer base.
Well, just give you a heads up, the gaffers listening, all right?
She must be here.
She's probably next door, isn't she? Grant, let's bring you in. Grant, as you can see there, he's got a great plug, GPS Capital. He's plugging the business. Nicely done, my friend. LPs behind you, vinyl. Loving it.
Yeah, well, I normally do done a lot of Zooms through lockdown, and this has been my backdrop. And this morning I thought, you know what, I'm going to have a little look through and see the women that have influenced my sort of listening. And so, you think about these names that are up here: Donna Summer, Kate Bush, Tina Turner, Nina Simone, Debbie Harry. The list goes on. Real icons and really driving that sort of music business forward. So that was my first thought. But one of the things I wanted to touch on there was what Carl said in a very male-dominated sort of workplace, which financial markets is. When you find inspirational women within that business, they've had to be pretty strong to have got where they've got to, being surrounded by men. So, and it's interesting that actually outwardly, a lot of my client base, a lot of my influencers in the Northeast are women, but actually internally within my own business, it's traditionally men. So that's a good balance for me to have.
It's interesting because we've got millennials and Gen Z just thinking like, who's Deborah Harry? What you on about, mate? I mean, it's before my time as well. Grant, I'll just ask you that, Dave just mentioned the Ellie there for the Ellie. Wow, we'll give it the grandiose title, the Ellie and the Jules. What about you, Grant? Because I know you've got a few inspirational women that you've been inspired by in the past. Do you want to drop a few names in?
God, yeah. I mean, I put a list together initially for you, and I think I came up with like 12 or 13 names. And, out with my own mother and my own wife, who are probably the biggest inspirations in my life. My own grandmother, who was Lord Mayor of Newcastle in 1979. So I was sort of 6-7 years old when she was having that influence on me and seeing what she was doing. And she was a very stoical woman. She wouldn't accept the gold medal at the end of her tenure because she wanted to give the money back to Newcastle. So that was a starting point. When I worked down in Sydney, I got taken on by a really fantastic lady called Ella Hamilton, who brought me into the National Australia Bank. And really pushed forward everything that I had and got me promotions, and remains a friend to me today. So, you know, within business, that was kind of where I would start. And then in Newcastle, probably the biggest influence on me is a lass called Jen Hartley, who runs Invest Newcastle and also is head of economics for the city council as well. You know, gone to Barcelona with her, organising events in France, in MIPIM, and you know, she's very inclusive. And actually, the city council, if you have a look at who's in senior positions within the organisation, there's an awful lot of women, huge amount of diversity there, which kind of, you know, stands proud of a lot of the other things that are going on around the place. And then the last one I'll mention is internally in my business, actually based over in Salt Lake City. There's another Australian lass called Lisa Wilson, who looks after all of my payroll, all of my pension stuff, you know, all of the stuff, that nitty gritty stuff that actually really makes a difference on a day to day. And she does everything, never moans, gets everything done. I mean, I had an instance with her where I needed something sorted. She was up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get it done for me. You know, these are the types of women in the business that actually allow you to get on and do your regular day-to-day role. And those people cannot be, you know, you just can't operate without them. And actually, they are hugely inspirational. I could talk about this forever. So I'll give.
I know you could. You said 12 or 13. I was like, no, mate, you're not having 12 or 13. You know, something you touched upon there was diversity. And I'm really mindful that we've got 4 middle-aged white dudes on this call, right? I honestly, and that's just my network. And I do try really hard to try to make the podcast very inclusive. And you know, I spend a lot of time. Actually, I've had a few messages celebrating that. I've had a few people say, you know, actually one lady worked out the men to women ratio that I had on the show and said, like, you know, like 48% of the people you've had on have been women. And I was like, wow. She went, the biggest show right now in the business space has got like 2% of women. The rest are guys, you know, and that really struck home with me. So I was just saying to Mish yesterday, like, wow, I've got these 4 white dudes on, do you know what I mean? And we're all privileged men and this sort of stuff. And I am mindful of it. So Dave, can I throw this to you? The space that you work in, I guess, diversity, equality, and that, you know, you see a lot of that. You know, how important is it to celebrate that?
Yeah, it's very important. I mean, for the business, I've been involved in it 27 years now, and I've seen the evolution of how it's changed. You know, from being really male dominated through to, you know, particularly individuals that have sort of grown up within the industry, who have, you know, started off as administrators within insurance companies or for other brokerages, because we're quite a cottage industry. Everybody seems to stay within our field and very rarely go out to other industries. And I've seen particularly say some women go from, as I say, an administrator to, I can name several that are actually, you know, holding directorships, even MDs of certain other brokerages. So it's been fascinating to watch that evolution and see the acceptance. And yeah, I mean, as I say, an inspiration to witness people that we can that I can turn to and ask questions, because, as I say, in our own business, we've tried to I say embrace diversity. It's actually happened naturally for us because our own team is probably at a 50-50 ratio. And as I say, the ladies that I'm privileged to work with, you know, I mean, some of them we've had for 16, 17 years now, and they're integral to the business, and they've really shown us the way how to treat the customer, because I think it was Carl that touched on customer service. Yeah, for us, you know, the revenue, the money, it's irrelevant. We've got customers back from 92, 93 as a result of what we do for the customer. It always comes first. And I say it's really been the females of the business that have allowed us to shape that and create the framework to allow us to, I think, deliver a pretty good service.
That's something you just made me think about there was friendships there, because I guess there's lots of friendships within the organization. I say to my team, I spend more time with them than I do with my kids, my partner. You know how it is. We're together most of the day. So Carl, I'm going to ask you this one. How important is it for you to have friendships
At work or in general?
Inside and outside, man.
Inside, it's great because, like I say, we're all mates before work colleagues. We socialise together. I've got a young lad here who comes for pinters on a Friday. He doesn't often buy them, but and it's just you're out at work. You see everybody at work day in, day out. It's getting to know that person, like personally. Find out what they're about. But also, mates outside of work are massive. You need people because, you go out, you switch off. Your day-to-day is hectic. You get away from work, you go for a pint, and you just hear about everybody else's day instead of your own. Just chill out. Great.
I think that leads us nicely into well-being then, Carl, because it's really important, and we know the stats, right? That they're out there in terms of male suicide, stress levels. I'm sure everyone on this call right now has been through some sort of stress, and it's hard, isn't it? I think as guys, you kind of wear a mask and you go to work, and especially as a leader, you kind of be shown that vulnerability. You have to be that guy who leads from the front, but actually in the back. And I've certainly done this on live streams like this. I've had issues where I didn't want to go live. I'm like, but that's my job. How do you manage that, Carl? Do you?
To be honest, not something that really affects us. I'm not a big worrier. I don't worry about things. I do have family who've got mental health issues, and to see how it can affect them is massive. How the day-to-day can change. 1 minute they're fine, next minute they're rock bottom. But it's just trying to make awareness of it. But as you say, men don't talk to them. Keep everything to themselves, kind of thing, and you should be open and honest. Where, like I say, it's easier just to, like I say, everybody else has got their own problems without you feel like you're going to burden them with yours. Instead of listening to theirs.
Yeah. It is good to talk, and I'm going to bring Grant in here because he can talk underwater. I often say that. Grant, we often get together, don't we? Before COVID times, we get together once a month and we take a walk out in nature with a team, and I know both you and I have had personal issues, business issues, relationships, whatever it might be, and we counseled each other. How important is it to talk, Grant?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I mean, I was in London yesterday in our dealing room, and I was talking to a French African lad who I work with, Patrick. We were talking about a couple of different relationship type issues, and it was brilliant. I felt like I'd shared a problem. He shared back, and we both laughed and moved on. And just touching on that friendships within business thing, if you have trust within your team that this stuff isn't going to be shared, it's absolutely it's so important that you're doing these things. And one of the other things I want to talk about with women within the business, and I've certainly had it within COVID. I'm in the same room as my wife, and whilst we're working in two separate businesses, we're often sharing our problems within the business. We've actually worked together before, so it wasn't too odd a situation. But a woman often brings a slightly different view, a different perspective. Less testosterone in there, not thinking about the end result so much as maybe a guy would. Just a little bit more level-headed, and actually has helped me all the way through this COVID period to make some decisions that I wouldn't necessarily have made without their input. So I'm sure you find that having Misha around as well, mate.
and not just the fact that she's a woman. I mean, your wife, you could be working next to a guy and you could get the same sort of, difference of opinion.
No.
What I love about working with Misha and Charlie is right next to me. They're young, the late teens, 20s next week. They bring something very, very different. I've noticed, I think sometimes I've often said this in business. I come with preconceived ideas like that'll never work. There's no money in that. That won't float. And they're like, well, we'll just try it. And I'm like, well, it is crack on you, and it works. And I'm like, if they hadn't said that, I might not have done that. And I love that almost naivety. We don't always know everything. We're not always right, are we? So yeah, it's a good point. Dave, I want to bring you here in because we're talking about kind of well-being, and I do look at you in terms of your health. I know you're very, very mindful about your diet, what you put in your body, how you live your life. So can you share some of the things that's important to you about your well-being and your health?
Yeah, well, it always has been something I've been interested in since a sort of young teenager. But I mean, certainly as obviously we've learned more, and as science has sort of evolved over the years, I found that that sort of initial investment has sort of paid off in the long run. I mean, it's certainly whether it's the mental health that we were talking about earlier, I think that really everything starts with our own body and our own mind and how we actually treat that. I'm very much a subscriber that, in many ways, much of these chronic illnesses that we now see as a plague out in society are down to lifestyle and things like that. So, my own near experience with my wife, she had some surgery that went wrong, and resulting factor there was no solution from allopathic medicine, modern medicine, and she had to take matters into her own hands, and she sorted the problem out, and she's since become a naturopath and a health coach. So I've been very fortunate the last sort of 10 or so years to be at the have somebody do the research that I used to do. But I think, in the wider field that we find ourselves in our business, where we have clients with employees, whether it's one employee or 1,000, health and well-being, our industry has now really realised that this is so important. If you've got a healthy workforce, you've got a far more productive workforce, and that has changed. It was changing before COVID, but the acceleration post-COVID is just, the demands we're getting from clients saying, right, what can we do? What other solutions do you have? And obviously mental health, as we touched on, has been a big part of that. We have solutions that we can put in place and, to assist, because it's been, in my view, very damaging, these lockdowns for mental health, whether it's with children, families, people that've got to go to work, people that suddenly find themselves having to work with a laptop balanced on a washing machine. And believe me, I know of people that were put in that position. So I think what it's done, it's highlighted for a lot of people that they've now got to start, taking ownership of their health. We've got an NHS, unfortunately, that is under an enormous amount of pressure and seems only be going one way. So I think the time now is for people to actually realise that, the buck stops with us, and as an employer, if we've got that ability, which we have, we can put measures and systems in place to actually assist our staff, because, as I say, the workforce, in my opinion, is it's the top priority that we've got. Because if I've got a team that are either feeling unwell mentally or physically unwell and can't do the job, then we will do whatever we can to help them.
It's a really good point, and it's physically, you mentioned there. I think something I've struggled with, and I'll share this with viewers. I loved playing football when I was younger, and I stopped playing football at 32 to coach my son's team. And I really saw a difference in my mindset of not being on a pitch with a bunch of guys, working towards a victory. And I used to play up front, so I tried to score goals, and I'm not the shortest of guys, so I'd try to score in my head, and defenders would be kicking me up a height, and we'd go to the pub afterwards and we'd deconstruct the game. And I just loved that. And then I left it. And then I'd hear the guys playing football still and hearing about the camaraderie and everything. I struggled with that. I struggled without that togetherness. And I'll throw that question out to you guys. How do you make sure that you come together and you're enjoying outside work, maybe outside of your family as well, with friends? Do you do any activities, any sporting activities that help you through? Anyone want to pick that up?
I still play football.
Excellent, good man.
48. But same as you, Ian, when I stopped playing competitive football, it was just weird because you had nothing to do. You used to look forward all week just to go in and playing on a weekend. But then once it stops, when you get old, you can't do it no more. But let's say I'm still clinging on now. Play 45 minutes every Sunday. I'm great for the first 10 minutes. Hope it's 45. But yeah, just you need to focus on something out of work. And football for me has always been my hobby.
Yeah. I guess as you get older, you change. You have different hobbies. I mean, now I was boxing last night. I run, I weight train, I do everything. Dave, I know you're active as well. You just have to change it up as your body changes. And then, Dave, I'll jump on you one. You go to the gym, kids squatting, heavy deadlifts and stuff like that. Have you had to change the way you train now? We're just getting a little bit older. Are you still going?
Yeah, I have. I mean, I changed diet again. For me, diet is a massive part of what we put in our mouths. The quality of the water that we drink is so integral. Again, the mind as well. I mean, I've experimented with meditation. I think it does work sometimes, fitting it in. It's certainly not overrated. They've been doing it for thousands of years. Around the world, it is a very, very powerful tool to use. For me, the isolation of working perhaps in the gym or going for a run as you do, or getting on the push bike, or whatever, that in itself is a switch off from work. I mean, I drive motorbikes as well, so you can't really think about anything when you're on the road, and I think the people don't understand the mind is a tool, and it doesn't need to be in action all the time. It needs to spin down every now and again, and you need to just do things that don't involve thought, because it is tiny, it's draining to have that process constantly going. So I do find that for anybody, whether it's just going for a nice walk in a forest, and leaving the phone behind, and I found that as well. Things like this thing, it really is the bane of our lives. Yes, they're very useful, but we have to unplug from them. When we don't have ours anywhere near us at night. They're in the other room. We don't interact with them. And as I say, as much as these apps I find are quite useful for tracking fitness and things like that, I'm really not a big fan, even though our industry is going that way, because it just makes us so reliant on them. So I think we have the power, we have the tools to actually live our best life. But again, going back to what I was saying earlier, we've got to show people, and we've got to, it's, if you say just go and do this or go and eat healthy, very much where we try and play more of a part is to actually assist people where to start and get them on that sort of that path.
I love that. When you're trying to inspire people, I come to the office and I daily say to Misha, have you been to the gym, or are you struggling to walk up the stairs, and wind her up. But it's good to try and inspire your team as well, because you worry about them, you want their health to be. It's funny when you're younger, isn't it? You don't really kind of see it, but I think sometimes a penny drops as you get a bit older. You think, I need to really keep on top of my fitness. And Grant, I'm going to ask you this one, because you messaged me today and you said, I'm back on it, man. I'm on the track, and summer's coming. Build that body now, Grant, ready for the summertime. So how important is it for you to keep that kind of healthy mindset, lifestyle, fitness?
I just think you have to put so much more effort into doing these things as you get a bit older. And if you've got family like I have, 3 children, putting the effort into your relationships with your partner is absolutely key. I'm going away with Caroline this weekend, 2 days away, and just have some separation time. I've been to the gym this morning before we did this. I'm back on it, like I said, every single day. And me, I'm not in between. I'm either on or I'm off, and switching myself back on. But that comes into friendships as well. You get out what you put in, and if you make that effort with people, and I do that, I use, I know the phone's a bane of our life, but actually keeping in contact with my friends on WhatsApp. I'm talking to 5-10 different people every day, keeping in contact with them, such that when the time comes and I'm in whatever city or wherever I am, that I'm able to go and catch up with these people in person, which, when you do catch up with these people in person, and you've only been talking to them on WhatsApp for 2 years, is just such a glorious glorious experience. Yeah, you don't take these things for granted. So yeah, my takeaway from that, mate, is you've got to go after it. If you sit back on your ass and do nothing, excuse my French, then you're not gonna get what you need out of that.
Dave just touched upon meditating. It's really interesting. And
I can't meditate. I fall asleep.
Well, this is the thing, there's things I can't do as well. And I'd love to meditate, Dave. And I have tried it in the past. But I almost don't need to sit there and meditate. It's what you touched upon before. You're riding a motorbike. You ain't doing anything else but just keeping yourself safe. You're in a boxing ring. All I'm trying to do is stop being punched. I'm running on the hills. My mind is just gone. That's my kind of meditation, rather than sitting down. So what's yours, Grant? Do you feel that you kind of really just release yourself?
Well, music's my big thing, mate. Yeah, and actually, when I'm driving up and down from Harrogate to Newcastle and around the northeast and going and seeing clients and whatever, I've always got my music on in the car, and I just totally switch off. And the same thing when I'm in the gym, an hour and a half of just take it away. I'm one of those people. I go into the gym, I don't talk to anyone. I'm friendly, I smile at people, but I'm totally in the zone. I'm in my area, because actually what I'm doing is I tune out. I had a period, right, where I take the phone with me from machine to machine, and that was just a habitual thing. And now I just leave it in the locker. I'm like, that thing's, nothing's going to happen in the time that I'm in here to when I go away. So yeah, I'd say actually meditation. Yeah, even yesterday on the train, just had my music on, switched off completely. The ticket inspector, the specky, when he came round, had to go, oi. I was just so in the zone with my music. So yeah, I'd say that is it.
It's really interesting. You said you were driving up and down there. I thought, please don't tell me you're meditating whilst you're driving up and down the
I am.
do you still drive nude as well? Because that was a thing of yours, wasn't it?
Do you still drive? What?
I said, do you still drive in the nude? Anyway, we'll move on, because I remember you got caught doing that once. Carl, I want to ask you about leading by example. What kind of springs to mind when I say that? Do you feel like you lead by examples? Any experience you can give us?
Well, I don't drive nude.
But he doesn't.
Lead by example. To be honest, I think me and Jules kind of lead by example, because we're a very small business here. Very quick turnaround, and there is times we go out, we get our hands dirty, because there's nothing that we wouldn't do. I ask people to do that we wouldn't do ourselves. But like I say, you can go and help people, and I just think being hands-on with them, working as a team, it inspires everybody here. We've all got the same goal. At the end of the day, if it doesn't go out the door in the night time, you let your client down, they don't come back. But like I say, it's just being part of the team, and we've got a great team here. Everybody's friendly, everybody's gets on. There's no bad eggs. There's no hierarchy here. So we kind of just all get in and do it.
I'm sure the staff like that as well. The kind of flat structure and that. What do you think about kind of how do you lead, Carl? I think back in the day when I was really fearful of my bosses back in the day, and it didn't work very well. I didn't have that relationship. I felt like I couldn't approach them in case I'd said something wrong or made a mistake, and that's, you lose innovation in that sort of scenario. How do you find as a leader that openness? Do you feel like your team can just come to you and you're really open?
Oh, yeah, like I say, the guy who runs our production, Ryan, I've known Ryan since he was a babe. And, anything, he just comes. They don't really come to see me, they come to see Ryan, because Ryan runs it, and he's such a lovely man. He's never bad-tempered, not like me. He never shouts, not like me. And he goes to them, he talks to them. He kind of puts the arm around them and that. And you look at the young lads we've got here now, they absolutely worship him. You know, you can see they hang on every word he says, just because he's so good.
Excellent.
You know, such a nice person as well.
Just thinking about that, then that almost sounds like a sort of a parental feel, and Colin, and I touched upon that with my team. You know, what's it like as parents, guys? I'll throw this to you. You know, what challenges are you facing right now as parents to look after our children? Look at Grant's face there. Grant, maybe you want to pick that one up.
Bloody hell, yeah. Where do I start with that? Yeah, box of frogs. You know, I've got 3 kids, and 15-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 10-year-old girl. I've got the girl last, and they're all so different. And I think, you know, you'll have done your own day's work, and you think you're on top of things, and then you come through the door, and these 3 little angels have, you know, one of them have done something fantastic, one of them will have done something that's a nightmare, and then the other one needs some sort of support. And look, we don't get it right all the time. You know, a bit of screaming and yelling. What was going through my head was a bit of screaming and yelling that went on late last night in the house. You know, literally it was one of them where all the doors in the house opened and everyone stuck their head out the door. What's going on? What's kicking off here? You know, because one of them hadn't done something or whatever. So yeah, you know, I almost call it being, but you know, you're boss of the company. Not only you boss of what you do on a day-to-day basis in work and your own client set and the team that you're operating within, but actually when you come home, you're CEO of your own little company when you come back home. So yeah, it's a challenge. Parenting's the biggest challenge of the lot, mate, as you well know.
Caroline's the CEO, by the way. Grant, you're the CFO. Okay. Dave, do you want to pick it up in terms of challenges? How do you find it?
Well, I mean, we haven't got young children now, so I don't quite have the challenges that Grant does, or the excitement, let's say, when he gets home of an evening. So we just got 3 small Dachshunds to deal with, so they're challenging in themselves. But yeah, I mean, it obviously was to bring brought up Ellie since she was 3.5, I think it was. So yeah, been through the exact same experiences. And I don't know whether it doesn't really matter whether there's 1 or perhaps 3. There's still that, you know, that chaos and door slamming and, you know, all the usual sort of stuff that comes with having a young child. So yeah, I can imagine now it must be a bit of a challenge, particularly with some of the pressures that we're seeing socially now for children. I mean, I remember you know, I'm sure all sort of similar sort of age, but it was, you know, you had to have the right trainers at school, and obviously if you didn't, then, you know, the grief that came with that, or the stigma that, you know, you got a pair of Golas rather than Nikes, whatever it might be. Now, I mean, I just can't even put myself in that world where you've got to have the right phone, the right clothes, the right, you know, the whole thing. It just yeah, I don't think I want to be a young a teenager or young child in this day and age.
It's interesting because, you know, as fathers, sometimes our families are a huge part of our lives and work, you know, and there's Simon there, our Simon, you know, Simon often talks about his 2 beautiful daughters. He worships them, right? I love that about Simon. I love that he brings it into his speeches, his work. He tells stories. I'm the same with my 2. And Dave, you know, working with Ellie now must be awesome. My Jess, she's 15. No, she's not. She's 30, and I've just stuck her 2 years on it. She's 13. I've got no idea what Jess is going to do. Just no idea. She's she's so rogue. Like, I just don't know where she's going to go from one day to the next. She's so independent, and I wish I had her steel. I would love to bring her into the business. I would love that, but she walk her own path. But all I can do is inspire and nurture, and not rule an iron fist, because I just think of Jess as a young human, a small adult. You know, I'm not right all the time and wrong. And, you know, Grant, you just said there, you're the boss. I actually don't see myself as a boss. I don't see myself as a friend of Jess. I'm a parent first, but I never want to say, right, you do this, you do that, you do. She's got her own mindset. So it's something that I sort of remind myself day to day that, you know, I'm not always right.
Yeah, I didn't mean that in that term, actually. In a I'm the boss, and, you know, you must listen to what I'm saying. It's like, it's like company Murray. You're trying to balance all of the different things that are going on. And one thing I would say about this sort of COVID lockdown is that, and I'm sure it's happening in a lot of households, is the kids probably didn't really know a lot of the time what we did when we went out the house. You're just dad or mum, and you go out and you're doing whatever you do, and you come back in, and you're the parent in the house. But actually, what COVID's done is it's brought the workplace into the house, and there's no escaping the fact that they'll be hearing the conversations that you're having, the phone calls that you're having. Actually, I get from my kids. They're like, "So what is it that you actually do?" Because you don't actually look like you're doing anything. And
your gaffer's watching this, right?
And you have to explain to them the nuance of what's going on, and then they're kind of switched on, and then then the questions come, and then they start asking me, "Oh, what's this market done, or what's this currency done?" And then one of my kids is now going on and doing economics, and so actually it's had a quite a positive effect, and I don't know whether that gives them more or less respect for you. I don't know, but it's certainly something that's come out of this lockdown.
I think what it can do is back in the day, my grandfather was a miner. Okay, my father was a shipbuilder in the shipyards. There was you've got chippies and plumbers and sparkies. A lot of the jobs we do now, my mum says to me, "Wait, what do you actually do? How do you make your money?" Like, she's got no idea, and I can't even tell her either. I don't know what I do, because we've got so many different job roles and diversity now, and things have changed. So, Carl, I'm going to ask you about this one about children and how you nurture and how you give the best advice and that sort of stuff. Have you got any examples of that?
Just what Grant said before, obviously lockdown. I've got a daughter who's got 2 young kids. And during lockdown, obviously they couldn't go nowhere. My granddaughter's 4, and she needs something to do. And there's only so much television they can watch, And she would ring me, Dad, the bairn's doing this, the bairn's doing that. I'm like, she's the same as everybody else. She's locked away, can't do nothing. She's not used to seeing her family doing things, But like I say, it's just, they're always asking questions, aren't they? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And it's kind of, just do it. Don't ask permission. Just do what you feel like doing.
Yeah.
And if it works, it works. But you never criticize the kids. Never. They can try something. If it fails, you're always there to help them get back on their feet.
There's so many challenges now, Carl. You're right, and I think it's hard as parents to almost not say the wrong thing and trying to skirt through things. It's almost like you can't judge, you can't tell them how they look, their weight right now, their hair. You look strong, you look healthy. They've got so much. Instagram influencers pushing stuff at them. The bodies aren't what they see online, and I just don't see anything. I really try to tread extremely carefully about how my daughter looks, because I'm so mindful that she's probably under so much pressure. Has anyone else felt that? I mean, Grant, can I ask you that? You've got 3 who are feeling pressures now, and just what Dave touched upon there. Back in the 80s, you had to have the trainers, but wow, things have changed now. Grant, you must see this.
I do, and I see it every day. And literally it'll be, and the trainers and the phone and the jacket and all of that sort of stuff are right up there. And that comes into the sporting equipment. My kids are very sporty. They've got to have the best of the best. And you as a parent, as a father, you try and provide without going over the top. And actually, the most interesting one is my daughter, who's 10 and a half. And, she's got a phone, and she's had a phone now for about a year. Walking to school, that was a big one. She wanted to start walking to school before she was 10 on her own. And I was like, no, I can't let my little girl. But actually, you think about what age we were all walking to school on our own, and it was 6, 7 years old kind of thing. So, there's that piece where you're protecting them a little bit too much, but then comes the hair and the makeup and all of those things, body image, as you rightly say. But they're on TikTok and Snapchat and Insta and all of those things, and they go away to their room, they come in their house, they go off, and often you don't know who they're speaking to, the life that they're leading. You've actually got to be their friend, haven't you, to try and eke those bits of information out, which are important. And then that's when actually, myself and my wife and Caroline, we work together as a partnership to, right, what did he tell you? Or, what did you pick up on there? Or what did she say? Or what's she doing? And then sort of downloading that information and going again the next day in terms of helping their mental well-being. It's a complex thing. It really is.
It's interesting. I took Jess to a podcast. It was actually Ashley King, a friend of ours. Ashley King's launched her podcast studio. She's relaunched that podcast. She wanted me to be her first guest. I was truly honoured. I went to her studio. I took Jess with us. I wanted Jess to see what I do. And I don't even know what I do, but I wanted Jess to sort of sit in the corner and kind of watch. And Ashley said, would I be able to interview Jess? And I was like, I guess so. I mean, you can ask her. She went, Jess, do you want to be on a podcast? So she sat Jess down, put the cans on, got the microphone. I was like, oh, I don't know how this is going to go. Because Jess is, she's quite a quiet girl. Mate, I was so proud. I was just sat in the corner. I almost well up thinking about it. I was sat in the corner listening to this girl that I'd never met before. It was another person, because Ashley was asking her questions about her life and, what's it like being at school, what are some of the challenges, what about social media and some of the pressures it puts on us all. And Jess is like, do you know what it is? I don't feel that pressured. I'm my own person. I feel quite independent and no one can tell me how to live my life. And I was sitting there going, wow, who is this strong girl? Because Dad is the wrestling, playful type, we'll jump and we'll explore and we'll adventure and stuff. But actually, there's a young lady there that I hadn't met before. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. I was so proud. I don't know why I'm throwing that out there. But
well, you're getting to see a face of her that you don't necessarily see. And I think, probably we stress more about these things as parents because we don't fully understand what's going on. And maybe actually what's going on is not what we perceive it to be. I don't know. It's a modern world, modern parenting. No one wrote the book for this, did they? It's a strange situation.
Isn't it interesting? We're talking like this, but we're all kind of guys, doing really well at work, successful people, whatever success is. But I feel that you guys are successful. I look up to you. I love what you do. I mean, we've got so much going on outside, though. Lots of influences, jobs to do, and everything. But quite often we don't really share that in a workplace. Why do you think that is? Does someone want to pick it up? We don't really. It seems to be sometimes work only.
I'm conscious of time, but I mean, I still think that there's a taboo there about sharing your personal life. And almost like, is this other person really interested as well? And I think you have to develop that habit of being able to listen to what other people have got to say as well. He says as he talks over everybody. You know what I mean, though.
Yeah. Dave, I'll bring in a second. But Carl, you touched upon that as well. You said something like, I don't want to burden anybody. I'll listen, but I don't feel like people want to hear what I'm all about. So, do you not share much personally about yourself at work?
Not really. I think my family and friends are sick of hearing about work because there's times we do produce things here. I mean, we went through a stage where we've done quite a bit for the X Factor. And every time the X Factor come to tell you, I was just like, there, we've done that. I go out shopping with the daughter, and if I go into a shop that we've done work for, like British Home Stores or some Heart Foundation, look, that came from us. I go anywhere, see something, like, Dad, stop touching things, man, leave it, And it's just, they're like, oh God, you say every time something comes on the telly, I know, that's from you. So I kind of stopped talking about it now. I think I bore them, to be honest.
Dave, can I bring you in and just touch upon that point of kind of work-life balance and bleeding between the lines and sharing about what you do outside of work?
Yeah, I mean, we over the years had a number of families sort of work within the business and still do. So, talking shop outside of work, yeah, it happens. But the insurance world isn't the most exciting work. Whereas I imagine these two chaps perhaps have got some more interesting things to talk about with their work. I mean, as I said, our industry has evolved significantly over the last few years, so it's not quite as boring as insurance used to be. But I do try and keep that line. I mean, personally, in work, as I say, everybody's really friends with one big team. I'm just the one that steers it, basically. Everybody's does their own thing. We've got a good team, and personally, I don't really bring a lot into it by way of what I do outside of work. When talking to people, listen to the guys in the office, how the weekend that they've had and the things they've got up to. And I think it's great, because you can see the bonds that have evolved over time, and that's how we've always handpicked, a certain type of person to work with us. But yeah, I do think there should be a cut off between work, like with the things we were saying earlier, with the mind, because I'm sure we've all had it. You're lying there at 2 o'clock in the morning, suddenly an idea springs up and you think, right, I must remember that for tomorrow. I've tried to literally leave the office and park it, and not really discuss it other than, oh, have you had a good day today? Yeah, we have. Yeah, it's been okay. So yeah, that's how I deal with it.
It's interesting. Sarah makes a great point there, talking about the challenges when your work is your passion. It's hard to explain to others when work for them, maybe it's just a place to make a living. It might just be a 9 to 5. And it's funny, I've got some friends who literally clock after 5 o'clock. That's them done. They don't think about work until they punch in on a Monday morning. I don't know what the good or the bad thing is in both. I mean, I live my work through, but that's because I love my work. It's also my hobby. I feel quite blessed that I was in the gym this morning listening to a podcast, a marketing podcast, and I'll come in and say, right, okay, I've got a great idea. I've just heard this, but I'm constantly trying to learn and upskill myself. But that's because it's also my hobby. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I just know that I actually enjoy it. So I don't know, Grant. I'll bring you in here because I know you're all in on your career, and I think sometimes you get very addicted, don't you, really, to work and passion and.
Well, it's trying to bring other things in. I was just thinking to myself of an example yesterday. I was walking from a hotel down at the tube station, and it was a beautiful, crisp London morning, and I had my phone in my hand, and London buildings around, and what I'm thinking is, right, here's a great opportunity for a shot that I can take, and a theme that I can use for my next LinkedIn post, the landscape, and this typical kind of Londoner come up behind me and said, "You're all over the pavement," and I looked at him and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, maybe I'm not quite on the London vibe here," but. And I explained to him, I stopped him as well. I slowed him down anyway. And I said, do you know what I'm doing? I said, I'm looking up. I'm looking all around at all the different things. And I'm taking pictures because I'm then going to put them on my blog. So apologies if I was weaving around the pavement, but I hope that explains to you why. And yeah, I'm thinking about work whilst I'm actually walking down the street, but also I'm kind of blurring the guidelines between actually what's going on in real life as well. So mixing those things up for me is very important. You just live your life, don't you? And that, I don't know if I'm jealous of people who do that 9 to 5 thing.
I don't know.
It's like, is that good? Maybe it is. Maybe it's great. You can just go clock in, clock out, and then not think about it. But I don't know. It's just not for me. Not for me.
I thought you were sporting a Cockney black eye there, bud.
Me?
Yeah, did someone did he lap you after you were?
No, I think it must. I'm just getting old.
Guys, I'm gonna ask you before we wrap up this to celebrate someone. It's International Men's Day here. And I want you to think about someone that you know would like to give kudos to or give a heads up to, and name drop them. Carl, would you like to go first? Does anyone spring to mind when you think about someone that has been a fantastic man and has inspired you?
Well, I've got to say my dad, haven't I? Brought us into the world. The only downside is he took us to see Newcastle. Told us I would love it. And it got us hooked. But yeah, my dad, I think he's done quite a good job with us. Still keeps us in check now, but like I say, my dad's my best mate.
Yeah, I love that.
Nothing better than going for a pint with your dad.
I love that. I'll jump in before I ask the guys. I've been fortunate enough to travel the world. I've worked so many different places, been exposed to so many different cultures, and met some rock stars. When I'm speaking or when I'm in a situation like this, people say, "Who's give you the best advice and the worst advice?" It's my dad on both counts. It just shows you how important a father can be to a boy and a girl, really. Grant?
Gosh, I can name a few, as you can imagine, but I think the one I'm going to name is my managing director over in Salt Lake City, Dave Pierce, who brought me back into this business after 6 years away. He'd had lung cancer, part of his lung removed, and I got back in contact with him, and we had a great conversation. He asked me back into the business, been massively supportive of everything that I do, opening up in the Northeast and Scotland, and actually, has been quite a father figure to me, and anything goes. So really open, forgiving, supportive person, Dave Pierce.
Wonderful stuff. Will you be watching this, Grant?
Well, now that I've said that, I'm going to send him the link.
Cool. Yeah. Of course, we're keen. You can watch this on catch up. Dave.
Same as Carl and you could self here. I think it's my father. I had the good fortune to sort of work with him over the years, and you had either the fortune or good fortune to have dinner with him a few weeks ago. He's had varying degrees of success in different industries, but has always been an inspiration. His work ethic, his ideas commercially around thinking outside the box. Into this day, sort of have a conversation about things, and even though he says he's the dinosaur in the room when it comes certainly to technology. Some of the principles that he still holds from being in commerce in the 70s and 80s. It still stands firm today, and sometimes sort of forget about those. There are plenty of other people I've met over the years. Who have inspired me, whether it's been the health and fitness industry or whether it's been in the financial the insurance world. But I say certainly my father would be the one. I'd put there as the number one in that position.
And I love spending time with your dad the other week, Dave. It's interesting because he does refer to himself as a dinosaur, but literally I was hanging on his every word. It was magnificent. And there's a very well-known book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Dale Carnegie, I think it was 1932. It was penned, and I often talk about it because those ideas from 1930 are still relevant today, and it's just values. It's doing the right thing, creating relationships. And your dad was just so on point with lots of his opinions about life now. It's just wow, just soaking it all in. We've got so much to learn if you listen intently and keep an open mind. So yeah, your dad's a rock star, Dave. And it's funny because we're blessed, right? Because I'm fortunate enough to say that I can take my dad for a pint tonight. But my best friend David, actually, he's an inspiration. He lost his parents quite young, and I had to go through that experience with him. And now he doesn't have his mother and father. And sometimes I feel a little bit guilty because he hasn't had his mum for the last 20 odd years, and I've got mine both, and I feel really blessed and fortunate that that I've got them and they keep themselves healthy, which maybe inspired me to keep myself healthy as well. So I'll just throw that out there if David's watching, because he's been an inspiration to me. So guys, I've loved that. Absolutely fantastic, hearty sleeve stuff, and that's why I wanted you here, because you inspire me. I love working with you all. I love your friendships. You're doing absolutely fantastic. Is there anything else you want to leave us with before you go? Anyone got a burning? Want to throw something out? Are you all good? Grant, have you got something on the tip of your tongue?
Always, mate. Just to say to you, fantastic what you're doing, and thanks for asking Carl and Dave and I on, because actually we do need to be as open about these things as we can. So well done you for getting us on here.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. I'll just sort of echo that, but then in the sort of commercial relationship that we've now got, I mean, you've been you and your ideas and your business have been a shot in the arm for our business, because we were really at a bit of a crossroads with how to sort of proceed forwards. So you, the team, Misha and Shelley's, have been a real asset, and I say we are on our massive learning curve since working with you guys. So look forward to a longer and profitable relationship for us all.
I appreciate that, Dave. And I just talked to the girls yesterday. Actually, we don't want to work with everybody. We want to work with people who have got our values aligned with us, and we love working with them and respect them, and we have a good relationship, and not this upstairs downstairs hierarchy stuff. And it's wonderful when you do meet someone that you just get on so well with and you respect them. Carl, last word before we go. Anything you want to say?
Yeah, just thanks for having us on. It's not something I normally do. I don't like this kind of thing, but it's for a good cause. So thanks very much.
I'll tell you one thing you did say, Carl, which was interesting. You said my daughter's got two children. You didn't say I was a grandfather.
Oh. Yeah, grandfather.
You're looking good, my friend, I tell you.
They keep us young.
Right, guys, thanks again. Thanks so much. And I'll see you very soon. I'll kick you all out.
Good to meet you.
Well, there you go. I hope you enjoyed that. Open, honest, as usual. No BS, no business crack. We're friends. We're out there. We just need to be transparent, support each other. This is International Men's Day. You know the stats. You know we don't talk. Support each other. Take someone for a walk, coffee, pint, whatever it might be. Support each other in the role, in the workplace, at home. And, thanks so much for watching. If you feel like this could help anyone, click the share button, push it out there, do that additional thing for me. The algorithm isn't going to like us because, we're not towing the line on what people might want to talk about. But this is a really important. We've got to talk about this in business, okay? So, again, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.